the boy we loved. Many years ago, my wife and I wanted a child, but we could not have one. Our hearts were empty, and our home was too quiet. We saw other families with children and felt sad. One day we got a call. A baby boy needed a family. His parents could not keep him. We said yes without thinking. Our hearts were full of hope. When we saw him for the first time, he was so small. His eyes were big and curious. He looked at us with wonder. We held him in our arms and felt love at once. We named him Daniel. From that day, he became our son. We fed him, played with him, and watched him grow. We sang to him when he cried. We stayed by his side when he was sick. Daniel laughed a lot. He ran in the fields. He hugged us every night before bed. He loved listening to stories. Our home was full of love and joy. Years passed, and Daniel became a strong and kind boy. He called us Mom and Dad. He did not know any other parents. He was happy. We thought life would always stay the same. But life is not always easy. One day, everything changed. It was a quiet afternoon. Daniel was playing outside. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. My wife was making tea, and I was reading a book. Everything felt peaceful. Then we heard a knock on the door. It was a strong, loud knock. My wife and I looked at each other. Something did not feel right. I stood up and walked to the door. When I opened it, I saw a man and a woman standing there. They looked serious. The woman had tears in her eyes. The man had a firm face. "We are Daniel's real parents," the man said. His voice was deep. My heart stopped for a moment. I felt cold. My wife came to the door. "What do you mean?" she asked. She held my hand tightly. I could feel her shaking. The woman wiped her tears. "When we gave him away when he was a baby, we could not take care of him. But now we want him back," she said. Her voice was soft but full of pain. I felt my chest tighten. "Daniel is our son," I said. "When we raised him, he knows us. He loves us." The man shook his head. "We made a mistake. We miss him. He is our blood. We have the right to take him back," he said firmly. I could not believe what I was hearing. For years, Daniel was our child. We held him when he was sick. We watched him take his first steps. We taught him how to read, and now these people wanted to take him away. My wife started crying. "Please, don't do this," she whispered. But the man did not listen. "When we will come back tomorrow," he said. "We want to see our son." Then they turned and walked away. We stood there, frozen. My heart was heavy. I did not know what to do. Inside, Daniel was still playing. He had no idea what was coming. That night, I could not sleep. My wife lay beside me, silent. I knew she was awake too. The house was dark and quiet, but my mind was loud. "What will we do?" my wife whispered. Her voice was weak. I took a deep breath. "I don't know," I said. "Daniel is our son. We cannot lose him." She turned to me. "But they are his real parents. What if Daniel wants to go with them?" Her eyes were full of fear. I shook my head. "He does not know them. We are his family." The next morning, Daniel ran to the kitchen. "Good morning, Dad." "Good morning, Mom," he said, smiling. His little face was full of joy. I forced a smile. "Good morning, son." but inside I was breaking. Then we heard another knock at the door. My heart sank. They were back. I opened the door slowly. The man and woman stood there again. This time they were not alone. A lawyer was with them. My wife grabbed my arm. The man spoke first, and we want to see Daniel. I hesitated. My wife and I looked at each other. Then I turned to Daniel. Son, some people are here to meet you. Daniel walked to the door. He looked at the strangers. Who are they? He asked. The woman knelt down. Daniel, we are your real parents, she said softly. We love you. We want to take you home. Daniel frowned. But this is my home. His voice was small. The man sighed. Oh, you belong with us. We made a mistake before, but now we want to fix it. Daniel turned to me. His eyes were confused. Dad, what is he saying? I knelt beside him. Son, these people are the ones who gave birth to you. My voice was shaking. But we are the ones who raised you. Daniel looked at my wife. Then he looked at me. But I don't understand, he whispered. Tears filled my wife's eyes. Oh, you don't have to understand now, my love, she said. Just remember that we love you. The lawyer stepped forward. And we need to talk. This is a serious matter. I felt a lump in my throat. This was not yet. We sat in the living room. The lawyer placed papers on the table. My hands felt cold. Oh, they have rights, the lawyer said. They want their son back. My wife held Daniel close. And he is our son, she said firmly. When we raised him, we love him. The woman, Daniel's birth mother, wiped her tears. We love him too. We regret leaving him. Daniel looked at them. I don't know you, he said softly. I know Mom and Dad. The room was silent. The man sighed. Daniel, give us a chance. Daniel shook his head. I don't want to go. He held my hand. I want to stay here. My heart ached. My little boy was scared. My wife kissed his head. Oh, will stay with us, my love. The lawyer cleared his throat. And Sis will go to court, he said, and a judge will decide. Fear filled my chest. We had to fight for our son. The court day arrived. My hands trembled as we entered the courtroom. Daniel sat between us. His small fingers held mine tightly. Will they take me? He whispered. I forced a smile. We will fight for you, son. The judge listened carefully. The lawyer for Daniel's birth parents spoke first. They made a mistake, he said. Now they want to make it right. Then our lawyer stood. Daniel has a home. He has love. He knows only one family. The judge looked at Daniel. Son, what do you want? He asked gently. Daniel took a deep breath. I want to stay with Mom and Dad, he said firmly. Tears filled my eyes. My wife squeezed my hand. The judge nodded. We'll think about my decision. We left the court, waiting for the final answer. Days passed, and we waited. Every second felt heavy. One morning, the phone rang. My wife grabbed my hand as I answered. It was our lawyer. And the judge made a decision, he said. My heart pounded. What did he say? And one, the lawyer said. Daniel stays with you. Tears ran down my face. My wife cried, holding Daniel close. "And you are our son forever," I whispered. Daniel smiled. "Oh, I never wanted to leave," he said. That night we held him tightly. We had fought for love, and love had won. Later we sat together, watching the sunset. Daniel leaned against me. "I was scared," he said, "but I knew you would never stop loving me." I kissed his forehead. "Never, my son. You are home." The wind was soft, the sky was golden, and our family was whole.